Can I begin by also acknowledging the clans of the Eora Nation as we gather here today for this, our sorry business. We pay tribute to their elders past, present and the future, to distinguished guests, colleagues who are here today, but most importantly to the families of the 25 wonderful souls we have lost. Our deepest condolences and sympathies to you again this day. To those here who have served, to those who are watching on from other places today, who have served in our fire services, in our emergency services, in our defence forces and in so many other roles, we gather here today and simply say thank you for your service. But to also reflect on a black summer that started in spring, a summer where the dark sky turned black and sunsets only signalled another night of terror, where the fire crashed on our beaches from the bush that surrounded them, and scorched the high country that turns white in winter, on this occasion black. A season of air you couldn't breathe and of orange skies that wouldn't rain. An unforgettable trauma absorbed into our very beings, and of unrelenting grief for our land, our wildlife and our families. Children kissing the coffins of their fathers, proudly wearing their helmets. Mothers and fathers who should never have had to bury their children. Friends who came to our aid, who travelled across the water to support us, but to return home under their nation's flags. Families sifting through the ashes of lost homes and livelihoods. Towns and places that came to embody both our loss and our strength. Bateman's Bay, Nerriga, Cabramurra, Timpot, Cobargo, Nerrigunda, Malua Bay, Lake Conjola, Batlow, Balmoral, Kangaroo Valley, South Arm, Bilpin, and 1,000 more markers on our maps. And it was a time when neighbours opened their homes to neighbours and anyone needing shelter. And Australians, be they city or country, Christian, Sikh, Muslim, Indigenous, immigrant, old, young, rallied to each other. In this room there are thousands of stories of loss, chance, grief, courage, generosity, and above all love. And many more beyond, known and unknown. And we see those in the stories a reflection of our humanity. Across this land and here in New South Wales, we witnessed the most extraordinary actions by fire and rescue, the RFS, our paramedics, our ADF, our Defence Forces, and almost every community group our country could muster to this effort, standing by each other and willing each other on. Not individual efforts, but efforts of crews, of teams, of communities, discovering and demonstrating once again that we are always stronger together. On Australia Day, I told the story of the Wingelow Brigade, who was able to meet just the other week and say thank you in person. Near night's end, on their night of terror, Brigade Captain Mark Wilson said it felt like we were losing, but in the morning, the town had been saved. A similar story was told in Batlow of courage, loss and achievement, and in so many other places. Amazingly, Mark had arranged for his daughter to be looked after by her mum, he told me, while Mark was called on to lead his brigade. Mark told me he thought she would be out of harm's way. She went to Cobargo, only to see her mum's business destroyed as the fire hit that town, even before that terrible night in Wingelow. These fires offered little, if any, respite or places to seek refuge as they burned and they burned and they burned across our state and our country. And I'm sure Commissioner Fitzsimmons, who has led this effort so incredibly well, could tell us many more stories, and I'm sure he will, and these stories will be told amongst the brigades for decades to come. In every case, our firefighters confronted the fear by relying on the love that was behind them. On New Year's Eve, 2 fire trucks from Fire and Rescue's Strike Force Gulf were immobilised fighting a fire near Nowra. 8 firefighters trapped It was dire. All 8 firefighters sent texts to their families. Trish Doyle recounts receiving a text from her 20-year-old son, just 20. He texted, "I don't think we're going to make it. I love you, Mum." In the midst of fear, chaos and confusion, and 1,000 thoughts, this son's heart and those of his comrades turned home towards the people they loved. For 2.5 hours, these families waited. Despite their trucks being destroyed, these firefighters survived, and we are thankful. We've lost firefighters, aviators, farmers, and civilians alike this summer, all carried within them, even until the end, the DNA of our universal language, I love you. We know all who were lost, who fought, who served, who volunteered, drew strength from who they loved and who loved them. What lay before them was not as strong as what was behind them, which continues to sustain us all now as the fires go out. And from this we witness thousands of extraordinary actions, and we have heard of Horsley Bark Brigade, who lost Deputy Captain Jeff Keaton and firefighter Andrew O'Dwyer in December. Just like Sam McPaul, they were young family men. And the morning after Jeffrey and Andrew's loss, the brigade met. Under Darren's leadership, they wept, they remembered, but they made a decision to return to the fireground. And as one said, it was the only place where we felt we could honour the bravery of our friends, and so they did. They went back out and faced another day, but still relying on each other, sustained by the love of those they left behind. That's a lesson for all of us who have lost this black summer, to rely on each other as we stand to face another day, often without those we love. It's Sunday. Let me finish and indulge me with a reading from Isaiah 58:11-12, which I've turned to on quite a few occasions lately. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. This is my prayer this day. As a nation, let us stand together, repair the broken walls, restore the streets with dwellings. Let us heal, let us rebuild, and most importantly, let us never forget, especially those we have lost who can never be replaced. God bless you all.